good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're located. Thank you so much for joining us today for CDK Connect. Hopefully, most of you had an opportunity to see our keynote earlier and see some of the exciting things that Jason, the panel, and Brian and Mahesh shared with you. We have an opportunity here today. We're joined by a number of our product leaders to take you through in a little greater depth some of the focus areas that were spoke about this morning. And in particular, the area of leveraging the power of our dealership management system and how we are driving efficiency through simplified workflows. We even have an opportunity to do a little bit of a sneak peek on a couple of things that were touched on this morning. I'm Bruce Johnson, Senior Director of Product Marketing here at CDK Global. I'm joined by Senior Vice President Arvind Chaturvedi. Chris Anderson is our Senior Director of Product Management. Maggie Benware is Product Manager, and Michael Donnelly is a Senior Product Manager, all focused on our dealership management systems and core systems here at CDK Global. Just to give you an idea of what we are going to talk through, as I mentioned, going in a little bit deeper on some of the things that Brian and Mahesh talked about today. We want to start out with thanking you for the trust that you place in CDK Global. Arvind will go into a little more detail on the, what we put into our base systems and the position that we are privileged to have in the marketplace, and the thanks that we want to extend to all of you for that trust. We'll get in then to the heart of this, where we'll talk about the efforts that we've been investing heavily in and continue to invest in terms of reimagining our financial systems and driving efficiency in the dealership through simplification. And as I mentioned, we'll do a bit of a sneak peek on some forward-looking things. So without any further ado, I will introduce Arvind to start us off in talking about the CDK dealership management systems and take it forward. Arvind?
Thank you, Bruce. Good morning and good afternoon to all. Bruce touched upon it, and I think if you were there at the keynote session, we heard it from Brian, we heard it from Mahesh as well. We appreciate and really take very seriously the trust that you place in us. And the trust is demonstrated by the great market share that we have, which clearly gives us the responsibility really to hold it up and make sure that at all points in time we deliver to you things that you expect from us. I mean, we have the experience. 50 years of experience is what Brian and Mahesh are talking about, which is what is invested in our products at this point in time. We have to continue to be dealer focused, clearly, because that's where we primarily try and deliver value into. As we do that, we obviously understand completely that we have to be integrated with OEMs, because we've got to work closely with OEMs. And we heard Brian talk about the OEM dealership integration being that much closer going forward. Mahesh touched upon that as well in the keynote session. As of now, I think we are the most well integrated into all OEMs. We also we are able to deliver financial statements, reports, etc., that the OEMs require, which actually allows us to keep your trust and help you do your business. Our workflows, rich in functionality, very deep and fully end to end, and we understand that that's what you need to actually run your business. We take care of the data. Mahesh again talked a lot about how the data is used in your context and to deliver insights to you and to deliver the data itself to you. But our job is to make sure that data is secure and is available to you as and when you require in the form that you require. And that's what we do. So all of these things, obviously, we are very conscious of are the things that we have been able to do, which has allowed us to be your chosen partner. And we take that responsibility hugely. And as we move forward from here, Mahesh said that, though we sit in the position that we sit in fact, Brian said that actually, to be honest. Brian said that though we sit in the position that we sit in, we are very conscious that, we are also accountable for helping you bring that efficiency into your business. So our job right now, our mission, if you like, is to make sure that, whilst we maintain everything that has enabled you to actually choose us as your trusted partner, yeah, we uphold that and we deliver all the capabilities that we already have. We need to expand on that, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we're bringing in more efficiency, more productivity. We're enhancing the productivity of the dealerships themselves through simplification, through transformation of our workflows. And that's the mission we are on at this point in time. We have made great progress from when we last spoke last year. At that time, we were talking of how we were looking at this, what was the vision behind it. Chris, Bruce, and I were here, and we could talk you through the thinking and the vision that stood at the time. A lot of that has been realized over the last 12 months between the last CDK Connect and now. Chris Anderson, Senior Product Leader, will take us through where we are along that mission. And then with Maggie and Mike, we'll be able to see exactly what's been delivered to you. So Chris, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Arvind. Yeah, and when we talk about the transformed workflows, it's really about simplicity and efficiency. And I often tell the story. I use my college-age children as a litmus for what we're doing. And if I were to put them in front of Drive today with no training, they would stare at the screen and walk away. They just don't interact with that software, right? That software that was developed many years ago. It uses different patterns. So really, when we think about the primary personas for the work we're doing, the first is somebody new in the role at the dealership or new in career at the dealership. They have an expectation for how they interact with the software to get their work done. And really, it's about the simplification and interacting with modern software design. Here, you just see some light contrast in what our end users are using today in the form of the current Drive, and then what we're delivering in market for modern simplified workflows. And then really the second persona is the more experienced user at the dealership. They've been interacting with our systems for years. They're using keyboard navigation. They're typing in screens ahead of what they can actually see. They're very fast using the systems that they have available, and we can't slow them down. So it's continuing to leverage keyboard navigation, modern keyboard navigation, and then also giving them the tools within the workflow to be able to manage their work at scale. And you'll see some of that come through as we go through the demonstrations today. Next slide, Bruce. Yeah, and this is fun for me, Arvind, and Bruce. We came here a year ago, and to Arvind's point, we shared some of the vision, we shared some of the work we've been doing in vendor management. And when we think about the back office, really 3 or 4 primary work streams. Procure-to-pay is everything from vendor management through invoice management, payment management, and then ultimately, if 1099s are required, to be able to render those and submit those. We've also got accounts receivable. We've got work that we're doing in GL, but really coming and sharing the story of the work we've done in procure-to-pay with AP. So 2 of the demos that you're going to see, you'll see work that we've done for new modern invoice management. We did not show any of that at CDK Connect last year, so this is a fun opportunity for us. And then showing what we've delivered for modern payment management, AP payment. So kind of couple that with the work that we've also done for vendor management. And then 1099. And what's really exciting about 1099 is we're on a path to make modern 1099 workflow the predominant workflow that you all will use for your 2022 tax year end in January. So very exciting with that. But really, when we think about the simplicity and how we deliver the efficiencies into the software, there's nothing more reinforcing than getting a testimonial from a customer who's using the new workflow. And Mahesh shared that up on stage, and it's a great story for Metro Airport Truck, and they've been using the AP payment workflow for a couple months now to come back to us and say, when they run their large check runs, they're cutting the time it takes for those runs in half. And again, that's a real reinforcement of the work we do, from the research, the design, all the way through the development, and then the iterations to make sure what we are delivering is meeting the mark. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike to step us through modern invoice management.
Great, Chris, thank you. Let me share my screen. What I have up on the screen right here is your modern accounts payable invoice. What we tried to do here was make something that was simple, easy to use, saves time, and maybe most importantly, as Chris alluded to, is easy to learn for new users. And so we did that by using modern navigation. So if you plan on hiring people who use the internet, this will be very familiar to them. But we also want to make sure it's okay for the experienced user who are entrenched in their workflows and they can still get their work done quickly. So the design here is that the tenured user will be familiar with this screen, and there will be little to no adjustment to their workflow. In fact, we believe we've enhanced it. But the new user will feel comfortable looking at this screen without having ever seen it, without ever having used it, without ever having entered any kind of invoice before. So how do we do that? So a couple things that I want to point out here is there's no function codes. There's none of those acronyms that we're famous for that you have to memorize. If you look at the left side of the screen here, you can see the accounts payable workflow is pretty self-evident. If you want to come in and do an accounts payable invoice, all you have to do is click on accounts payable invoice. It's that simple. There's no F keys that confuse us. Do we save? Does it save? Does it cancel? Does it exit? What is it doing? It's none of those esoteric shortcuts that are passed down from generation of user to generation of user that are kind of hidden in the programming. This is all interactive. It's all point and click. The user can update any field at any time without having to worry about jumping around the screen and being stuck using just their keyboard. And one of the other important things that we tried to do here was the user never has to exit this screen to complete the work here. So for example, if you don't know the vendor number right now, you need to exit this screen, search for it, find it, and then return back to the screen, or do that work ahead of time. But now that's done in screen, which makes, and so it's super intuitive and it's super easy to learn. And I'll demonstrate that for you in a couple seconds here. The screen is available right now. Anybody on this call can use this. All you need to do is reach out to us, and you'll get an email address at the end of this presentation that you can reach out to, or just reach out to any of your CDK contacts. The other thing is this is going to be integrated with our third-party accounts payable partner Use. That's Y-O-O-Z. They're an accounts payable invoice scanning solution where you scan the invoice and it extracts the data from the image of that invoice, the vendor, the invoice number, the amount, etc., and then sends it over through a Fortellis integration into this screen where the user can just batch post without having to do any data entry. We are currently piloting that integration. So if you're interested in piloting that for us, by all means, reach out. Or if you want to be one of the first ones to use it after it's complete, again, reach out and let us know. So let's go ahead and enter an invoice. So let's just pretend I'm a brand new user. It's my first day on the job. My controller just handed me the stack of invoices and said, here, go post these. So what do I do? What do I need is, right now, is I need to know the function code. I need to know the vendor number. I need to know the command lines, all the things I just mentioned a couple seconds ago. Now, once I find it, what do I have to do? I got to put them on sticky notes. They're all around my screen, cluttering up my desk. I got to exit the screen and go to a couple different places to search. But that's not what we have to do here in this screen. All that stuff I mentioned, it takes time. It's more than just the data entry as part of the workflow. It's everything else that you have to do, going to other screens and pulling someone else away from their desk to show you how to find that. That's not what happens here. Here it's pretty simple. So the first invoice I have in front of me here is for a TV commercial that we ran, and it's for Comcast Spotlight. So I'm a new user. I don't really know where to find that, but I see I'm in a vendor field and it says search. So I'm just going to instinctively start typing Comcast Spotlight, and it comes right up. Now, if I'm a mouse user, I can click on it, right? Or you can use your keys to enter on it. It's pretty simple. Then you're going to tab over to the next field and you're going to enter your invoice number, tab to the next field, right? And again, this is intuitive here. You can use the mouse to select your date, or if you're the experienced user who likes to key punch, you can do that as well. You can continue to tab through, or you can use your mouse and advance to the next field. It's either or. You don't have to go through each field. As I said, you can jump. So we're going to enter the amount of the invoice. Keep tabbing through the screens. It's for a TV ad. Enter a description if we want, or the stat count, but we don't need to. So we're going to proceed to the details here. And again, just like the screen at the top, I can type if I'm looking for advertising, right? Or if I'm looking for the account number that they mentioned, I can certainly type ahead and type advertising and look for it. If I'm the experienced user, I don't have to type ahead. You don't have to use this. If you're experienced, you can simply, I know the account number because I've used this account number for Comcast Spotlight a million times. You simply just type 740, you tab off, and you're good to go. Now we've completed it. Now in the current world, what do? I've got to get to the command line. I have to figure out, do I file it? Do I post it? Do I save it? What do I do? Here's pretty simple. Right at the top, you click post, and that's it. You're done. I didn't have to exit the screen. I didn't have to use the tricks at the bottom of the screen or anything like that. I could simply use my mouse, use my keyboard, whatever I want to do to get through and post this invoice. So with that, now that I've demonstrated as a new user that it's really simple and I've blown away my controller and how quickly I learn, they trust me now to do accounts payable checks. So I'm going to now turn it over to Maggie, who's going to show you how simple that is.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I'll go ahead and pull that up. So now that we have our invoices entered into the system, we're going to take a look at the payments. We've gained the trust. It's time to move to the next step. I'm going to show you the new home for our accounts payable functions. This is AP payments. It's got a brand new look, but it's kind of an evolution of PCK. So brand new look with more information than you can find in the existing function, enhanced security and control with new approval and authorization workflows, and more choice. We're now offering, in addition to the checks you know and love, virtual card payments thanks to a partnership with JPMorgan Chase. So really excited to walk you through it. And to do so, we'll return to our AP clerk who is killing it on their first day. So to start, they're going to look for two payments. Our first is for Stellar office supplies. And similar to AP invoice, we're not having to hand key anything. And since I'm not seeing it kind of on this first scroll, I'm going to go ahead and search for it. I'm going to give it a search and it's going to pull it up. Now that I have this vendor, I can drill down and see the individual invoices underneath it. You'll notice I also have filters to filter out by our due date or the payment method if I want to filter by checks or virtual cards. They're held in the same workflow. But for me, I know I want these first three invoices here. So I'm going to make my selection, clear out my search, and get ready to pick out my next payment, which is for the beautiful invoice that we just created for Comcast Spotlight. I'm going to go ahead and make my selection for Comcast. I'm selecting at the vendor level to make sure that invoice is in there, and then I can proceed to review. Here, I can edit that invoice description that we entered on the first page. If I need to include a note to the controller, I can use this field for something along those lines. Otherwise, I'm going to confirm that each of these invoices is what I'd like, and I'm going to request authorization. Now that we've gone through this first step, our controller, our office manager can come in to review the work that's already been done. So this adds obviously a level of security, and it protects your clerk against potential mistakes and costly pains from either printing checks that you need to then void or just having to go back and reconcile issues in the system. So here on my second tab, aptly named needs authorization, I can come in and take a look at checks and virtual cards. There's a slight diversion in the workflow for each of them. So I'm going to start with the checks. To authorize, I can just expand it out, take a look at my selection. Again, I can select everything available in the table, the vendor or the individual invoice. I'm going to go ahead and review it. You'll see that description is in here. I can clear it. I can edit it. It'll save in there for me. Otherwise, I think this looks good, so I'll authorize it for the clerk to take care of and print. And then really quick, I'm going to come back to our virtual cards and make an authorization there. These are slightly unique, right? It's a virtual card, it's done electronically, and it doesn't require any printing, any mailing. I'm going to make my selection and proceed to review. And you'll see I have a few new fields here. So I have a description and a cash and bank account selection. And the reason that they're at this screen is that this is the last step before virtual cards go out the door. So it's a two-step, and these payments are out. They're sent via secure email from JP Morgan Chase to the vendor directly. So within a couple minutes of me pressing this authorize button, our unique 16-digit one-time use card is going to be in Stellar Office Supplies inbox. I'm going to refrain from sending them a freebie today, but this process is seamless. It returns right away your successes and failures, and is really just out the door, that much more security, that much faster. Moving on to, we'll wrap out our checks now that we have the virtual cards out the door. To print, it's about as easy as before. We're going to make our selection. Here it's at the check level, so you can't make any changes there. It's all secure once it's been authorized. And I can just come ahead to print. It's going to ask to confirm a few things. These may look familiar if you're an avid PCK user. But otherwise, I can print a summary sheet or continue to print checks. One advantage of the new authorization workflow is that due to a self-service forms tool that we're offering, you can actually preload a signature if you choose. It's totally optional. In which case, once these checks are printed, they're pre-signed and ready to mail, cutting down on that much more time. I can see here our check printed correctly. If for any reason there is a mistake, I can void it within this workflow right here. I can try and reprint it right away. I can take care of that stuff all in one screen, all in one go. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and post selected, continue to wow our controller with our prowess getting these checks out. Now that our payments are all out the door, there's one last thing I want to check on, and this is going to be our reconcile credit cards report, or the virtual card status. So here we can see our status of virtual cards that have been sent out the door. We're able to see when a vendor accepts the payment. We're also able to void payments from this screen. So if I select out a few columns, you'll see this void. I can deactivate the card. It is no longer valid. Our credit detail is safe, and that card cannot be transacted. It's also going to reverse the postings in the DMS and take care of anything on the voiding side for that. It's going to give us great visibility, control, and ease of access. It's all accessible from this workflow from the screen. So now that our payments are out the door, we had a highly productive day. Our clerk was able to jump into the workflow right away, and the controller was able to step in to provide the security and control that payments process demands. So with all that said, I'm going to turn it back over to Chris.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Mike. So for us, it is really exciting to get these new workflows out. Probably a few things to know. One, the primary prerequisite for using the new workflows is getting on CDK Simple ID. So if you've not migrated, you've not gotten set up on Simple ID yet, that is a really easy next step that you can take. We are on a path now to have the vast majority of our customers migrated by the middle of December. So if you take no action, we'll be reaching out to you regardless. And then what I would call out is it's been a really heavy customer engagement to get to the point we are now. It's we have a team of UX researchers that goes out, engages with many of our partner dealers to do generative and evaluative research. We include them in the design reviews for feedback. And then they're true partners with us all the way through to the deployment, early feedback on what we've developed to make sure when we roll out at scale, we've really hit the mark on it. So you've seen the work that we've done with accounts payable. The last remaining area in that procure-to-pay is really purchase order, and we're working on that now. We also have concurrent work that's underway with AR and AR cash payment, and we'll get to statements. We're also working on GL and journal entry. So there's a lot of opportunity if you want to be involved in helping shape the direction that we're going with the DMS. My email's on the page. You can reach out to me directly, and we can talk through options for looping you in. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Bruce, who's going to give us a little demo of Unify.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris, Maggie, and Mike. Absolutely exciting stuff going on in the reimagined financial suite and the productivity that we can drive with that. I do want to, we're going to, take a little bit of a moment here to talk about Unify, which is something that's coming up on us here fairly quickly. We plan to release the first release of CDK Unify here in the fourth quarter of 2022. And I know many of you may have seen this in one shape or another if you visited with us at NADA last spring, or if you had an opportunity to join us in one of our webinars where we talked about it. But I wanted to kind of give just a little bit of a snapshot of what CDK Unify is all about. And it's really about this theme of simplification in how users interact with our CDK systems. It's the ability to leverage the different solutions that you use from CDK in a seamless manner, leveraging single sign-on capability, having one central starting point. And it's really also a wonderful tool for us in terms of this transition we're going through as we're bringing these transformed workflows to you. And there's bringing that to you in a way where you can utilize it and have the flexibility to work with things the way you have been in the past, or adopt the new ones and bring them together. The other thing that I want to highlight here is the personalization capability of CDK Unify with the My Unify. So without any more on that, I want to just jump in. Again, some of you may have had an opportunity to see this before, but I want to just introduce to you or reinforce for you what CDK Unify is all about. And this is a look at the interface of CDK Unify and how you'll come into it. You'll see at the top here, I've got the ability to look at applications, which is going to be the traditional looking at Drive or eLead or CDK Service, the applications that you're all using today, and launching into those through that one single sign-on environment. But where this gets really interesting is when you start to look at workflows, and when you think about the new workflows that Maggie and Mike introduced you to and that Chris spoke about, this is where you can go in and navigate directly into those workflows and have those organized, by the permissions that are appropriate. And then I mentioned personalization. So with My Unify, you can basically favorite the different things that a particular user wants to work with. And in this case, I've got a set of applications at the top, and I've got a set of workflows. So if I want to go into the payment processing that Maggie was just showing, I simply click to the payment processing tile, and it'll take me into it. Going back here, if I want to go into vendor management, I can simply tab into vendor management from that tile. If I need to do some work over on the service side, I might need to go in and take a look at a repair order, and I can jump into that and simply go right back to my tiles from there. So I don't want to go too deeply into this, but I do want to kind of reinforce for you that CDK Unify is coming. It's going to be coming this end of this calendar year. In fact, we're going to be going to pilot not too far from now. There's opportunities to be on kind of the early wave on this. The important things, just like Chris mentioned with the workflows, you'll need to be on Simple ID. We'll need to have your systems, ready in that regard. And you can reach out to us and we can get you on the early wave of utilizing CDK Unify. But it's a very exciting capability that we're bringing to the table to really simplify how users interact with the broad set of CDK solutions. Beyond this first wave, there's a lot of exciting things that we're planning to bring into it. We continue to take dealer input on those, but there's a lot of exciting things that we are bringing into Unify and planning going forward to make all of our solutions work in a much more seamless manner for you going forward. The next thing is wanted to give you a little bit of a deeper sneak peek into something that Brian and Mahesh mentioned in the keynote this morning, and that is Neuron Performance View. Our teams are really focused on enhancing the business insight that you have in the dealership to operate the dealership. Neuron Performance View is designed to give you that broad enterprise viewpoint of the key performance indicators and the business metrics in the dealership that you need to manage your business on a day-to-day basis. Now, we're going to be going into pilot on this in October. The first focus of that pilot, as you see on the bottom of the screen here, is going to be on the fixed operation side and financial statement data that will be brought in that first phase of this. We will be expanding that throughout 2023 to touch additional places in the dealership. That initial focus on the service side really is based on the the high impact of monitoring those key performance indicators, and the profitability that is driven out of your service organizations. So probably obvious why that's there and why that's tied to directly to financial results. There are a few other things about Neuron Performance View to talk about here is we will be delivering metrics by persona, including artificial intelligence assisted indicators. So building knowledge over time that helps you manage those key performance indicators by persona or by responsibility area in your dealership. Another very exciting thing here is the idea of having key performance indicators coupled with goal setting, so that not only can you have a KPI that you're monitoring, but track progress towards a goal for that KPI. And then the last one I want to touch on here is this capability that will not be here day one when we roll this out, but is definitely part of what we're going to be delivering into Neuron Performance View, and that is to deliver the capability to you of looking at a dealer like me. So let's look at these indicators of what's going on in the dealership. Now let's look at another dealer like me and see how we compare with peers. This is something we're very excited about, bringing this capability, to you, and it's really based upon our capabilities in terms of the market share that we have been able to, serve at CDK, the number of dealers that trust our systems, every day, the amount of transactions that are flowing through our system as Brian, talked to this morning. And so that's something that we're very excited about bringing forward to you. And I know it's one of those things that we get very excited to talk about. And then I have to tell you, it's not going to be there on day one, but it'll be coming. So keep that in mind, that there's a lot of exciting things to be built into this. You're going to see the first taste of this here coming up and going to pilot shortly, and a lot more to come. And just like Chris said on the transformed workflows, we would love to, have your input, your reaction on the things that we're doing with this. And so we dealer input is always so valuable to our teams in terms of how we're, finalizing these products and how we're fine tuning them and bringing them forward. So absolutely welcome engagement on that. To kind of bring this, to a, bring this all together this morning, we talked about what we're doing, what's driving our investment, in terms of continuing our position of the most trusted dealership management systems in the market. We are absolutely 100% focused on maintaining that while simultaneously increasing productivity and efficiency in the dealership. That's our focus. This morning, there was a lot of discussion about what we're doing on some of the front end, some of the consumer side facing side of things with what we're doing with Sales Desk and what we're doing with some of the exciting things on the service side, including predictive service, connected vehicle, and so forth. And that's really that first pillar here of owning the consumer experience. The second one, driving business outcomes with intelligence. You see what we're looking at doing here with Neuron Performance View, what we're going to be bringing to the table. We're continuing to enhance those capabilities in terms of leveraging all of your data that's in the systems, in the dealer management systems, as well as your CRM and so forth. That's certainly a big focus of ours. This third one, increasing employee productivity and operational efficiency. Hopefully, you could see by what Mike and Maggie showed you, we are 100% committed to helping improve, your efficiency, your productivity in the dealership, and helping you enable that next generation of workforce that, that likes things a little bit different than, what you might have been using a few years ago in the DMS. So we're absolutely committed to bringing that forward without leaving the things that make you trust Drive today in terms of all of our security, all of our audit trails, all of the business logic that's been built up over the past 5 decades. And then lastly, integrating openly across dealership applications. We are working, have been working extremely hard to bring together the total package for dealers. We understand that making our systems work better together for you and making that experience very streamlined with what I just showed you in Unify, makes your experience better. But we also understand there are times when you're going to want to integrate with other solutions. And that's why Brian announced this morning our Data Your Way. So we are really, just wanted to share with you, we are 100% committed to these 4 pillars and how those pillars of investment for us, drive things forward for you in terms of maintaining, CDK Global as the most trusted dealership systems and increasing your productivity and efficiency.